Now, the European Union, they say, oh, no, they're not going to renegotiate Brexit with Britain's Prime Minister, not going to give an inch. Steve Hilton is with us, former David Cameron Strategy Director and host of The Next Revolution. All right, Steve, if the EU will not give an inch, where do we go from here with Brexit?
It was always predicted that they wouldn't give an inch, and the only truthful thing that Theresa May has said about the agreement she's come to is that it's the best that's available, because the EU always has an incentive to make this process as negative as possible for the UK. So there's no majority in the British Parliament for Theresa May's deal, because the people who are pro-Brexit think that it's not really leaving the EU, and the people who are always against Brexit think that it's giving away too much. And so the choices really are that nothing gets resolved, and they head towards that deadline of March the 29th, which is the official deadline for leaving, without any kind of agreement. That's what's called the no-deal scenario. Or that Theresa May decides that the only way out of this situation is to call another referendum. But even then, no one can agree what the question would be on that second referendum. The whole thing is such a mess, it's hard to find the words to describe it.
Now, you obviously are not a big fan of Theresa May as Prime Minister. Who would you like to see lead the British government?
I think that the first point has to be that it's someone who believes in Brexit. And there are a number of candidates who could do that. I don't want to pick one today, but whether that's Boris Johnson or Michael Gove, you know, there are people in the cabinet, there are leaders in the Brexit movement, if you like, who could step forward. But the problem is, the only way that happens is if there's a leadership vacancy in the ruling Conservative Party. They tried that yesterday and it failed. So they're stuck with Theresa May. There is no alternative to Theresa May, because the rules of the British Tory Party mean that she can't be challenged for another year. So you've got Theresa May. There's no way around that. And so I think the real answer here, what the situation I'd like to see happen, is the one I always argued for, which is that the vote to leave the EU meant leaving the EU. Actually, the no-deal scenario is the right one. You've just got to prepare for it properly. They've wasted 2 years in this futile negotiating process with the EU when they could have been preparing by doing things to make Britain attractive to business and investors, cutting corporation tax, cutting regulations, all the things that have worked here in America. They could do that to counteract the short-term costs of leaving the EU, but they haven't done any of that. But it's still not too late.
What a mess. What a mess.